Gang sexy. We're into our second scenario. I should have shot a sort of a prelude video to this with the initial setups, but I didn't. But you can still see the front lines where everything started for the Russians here. So this is scenario V, the drive on Voronezh. So you can see where my objective marker is here. And the general victory condition for this one is for the Germans they can't go past the stars. So this is literally to drive to take the city itself, and they can't go any farther. But they have to control this, and they have to keep a supply trace straight down this road through the town of Tim right here and back to their supply source, okay? Well, as you can see, the battle started along this line here. You can see now a lot of this is Russian reinforcements that came on turn 2. This Panzer division here shot way out. Now he's cut off, so they're going to have to focus their attack to free him up because we can't afford to lose panzers in this game, or on the East Front. We need those things for taking Stalingrad and getting the oil fields and establishing the AA line, right? Right. Glad everybody agrees with that. So, all right. So let's go over a couple little things. All right. So units move individually during movement and during advance or during retreat. They all move. Now, a stack may be affected, but when you move, it's individually. So one of the things the Germans do, and the Soviets can do it too, is you have mobile assaults. Well, mobile assaults done during movement. Since you're only moving an individual unit at a time, you got to do these mobile assaults with one unit. Okay, so you talk about breakouts and encirclements, deep penetration and East Front stuff with the Blitzkrieg War, the Lightning War, whatever you want to call it, Kesselschlacht. So so far, all of the Panzer divisions, they're mechanized, but then you have motorized infantry divisions. Now, they cannot do the mobile assault like the because it says strictly the mechanized. And your Panzer divisions usually, think of what used to be a combat support company in the United States Army back in the 80s, where you had all your little inherent elements, your indirect fire and your reconnaissance, stuff like that. These guys all had, of course, the division regiment, they had infantry and they had reconnaissance and they had armor and stuff like that. It was all kind of mixed in. Great setup. So you're not going to get combined arms bonus in a mobile assault because it's only one unit, all right? But the Panzer division still has some good punching power. So they can do mobile assaults as they're moving. It costs 2 to conduct the mobile assault, plus the cost of the terrain you're going into. And if they're successful, if they have movement points left, they can continue to move. So after a mobile assault, there's no advance after combat. They can just continue to move. So hopefully they can continue to close on another unit, have enough movement points to close on another unit, and be there ready for regular combat. So for prepared assaults, which, by the way, the forces have to have supply. They have to be supported in order to do a mobile assault or a prepared assault during the combat phase. They have to be fully supported. They can't be limited supported. And you got to hope that your unit that did the mobile assault doesn't end up disorganized where he's only got half strength. You don't want that. So far we've been successful. We did have one in the first turn. One of the German regiments from a Panzer division. They've shifted now, but it was one of these guys was up here. He did get disorganized, so he didn't participate in it was when he was down here. So he ended up not participating in the prepared assault during the combat phase. So you got to watch that. But what you can do is so a hex, you can only mobile assault from a hex, and you can only be mobile assaulted in a hex one time during that phase. Now, if you chase him out and the unit that did the mobile assault continues to move and he moves to the same unit, it's a different hex. So he can do it again if you have the points. I don't think you're too many times, unless you start adjacent and you chase the guy back one hex. I don't think you're going to have too many times, because most of the retreats I'm getting on these things are 2 and 3, and with step losses. And all of these Russian divisions and brigades and stuff, they're only one-step units anyhow, all right? Whereas currently, all of the German divisions, infantry and armor and motorized, they're all 3-step units, except for the what are these guys, Romanians or something, Hungarian, second Hungarian. These guys are all, I think they're all single step. Nope, they're two-step units. Okay. And then you got part of the northern tip of Paulus's guys sitting down here, but they're not going to do anything. And for this scenario, the Germans they're fully supported all the time. You don't have to do the support stuff. And the Hungarians are unsupported throughout the whole game. So this guy here is never going to be supported, all right? But anyhow, so we were able to break out. We cleared out the front line here, which again I felt was kind of Barbarossa-esque. Like I said, they pushed him out, and they've opened a big hole. And on turn 2, the Russians got like 14 units for reinforcements, okay? And, no, I'm sorry. Turn 2, they got like 3. And now on turn 3, make sure I got this right. I'm sorry, turn 1, they got like 3 units. On turn 2, which is now, they're going to get all this stuff you see sitting along the edge, and then this guy sitting right here. They did get a mechanized unit came in, mechanized unit came in, but he's only a C-rated unit, so he's probably not going to get he might get a 2 or 3 in his strength. And all of the German armor are A series, so they're going to get good strengths. In the motorized rifle stuff, they're all Bs, which it's hit or miss. You might get some good stuff. But look at their infantry divisions are all As, okay? So they're going to, you might get 14, 12, 10, 9, 8 is their strength as an A unit. Already got one that tried to do an attack up here. We were trying to close off this guy. He ended up losing badly. I think I rolled a 2, and he took a retreat and a step loss. So, all right. So how do you do this with the mobile assaults? Your panzer divisions will come in 2 regiments. And the way I'm finding the best use of it is since you can only move one at a time, take the one you want to do the mobile assault with, move him forward, find your target, do your mobile assault. If he can continue to move, if it's successful and he can continue to move, then do your thing, keep moving. So what you're going to do is maybe you create the gap with the 1st regiment, and then the 2nd regiment, he does his movement, he shoots through that gap and goes find somebody else. And that's how I think in this game here you're going to get your deeper penetrations. You're going to open those holes up and start encircling stuff. Haven't really encircled anything. I got this guy cut off, but they've got my 2 panzer regiments up here cut off from that division. So, but yeah, apply your mobile assault. Like I say, the trick is units move individually. So you're not going to have a stack that moves in and does a mobile assault. It's not going to happen, all right? All right, here's another thing, and I had to really think through this one. Okay, mechanized units and non-mechanized units, okay? So when I say non-mechanized, I'm including German infantry that's motorized, like the 20th and the 3rd motorized infantry. They're in trucks. All right, from what I remember, you're not fighting from the back of a 2.5 ton truck or whatever it is they had. So those are not. You don't qualify them as mechanized. And what I'm talking about here is when you do advance. So the mechanized forces, when you do an advance, they have to enter the first hex where the combat was, and then they can defer. They do not have to follow the path of retreat. So you can start scattering your mechanized all over the place once they break through, as long as they don't get locked down by enemies under control. Because once you move into the first hex, once you start moving again on your advance, if you hit an enemy's under control, you got to stop, okay? There's certain exceptions, but I haven't come across like units that have no zone of control, okay? Which on this one here, the guys with the bands, like this guy here, I have to check that because a certain colored band they don't have. Okay, the guys with the white bands across their unit, they don't have a zone of control because those are just stews. That's infantry sport. You want to keep them with infantry for sure. Can't move with them, but like I say, you got to move stacks individually. But so with the mechanized, like I say, first hex after the combat, you got to enter that, and then they can scatter. So if the unit suffers a retreat of 4. Say, like, you get high odds in this thing. Let's say you get like a D2, retreat 4. Okay, well, let's say you just got a retreat 3, and you're going to advance. Mechanized can move into the first hex, and they can go whichever direction they want, okay? Non-mechanized and or motorized, they have to follow the path of retreat. They can't deviate, okay? And they also stop in a zone of control, and there's also conditions where you cross a major river, or there's certain terrain when you enter it, your advance stops. Excuse me. So you have these cases where you eliminate the enemy. So like, let's say you get like a D2R4 and you eliminate him. So now there's no retreat path. All right. Doesn't necessarily matter for the armor because he's just going to go into the first hex and he's going to go where he wants. But for your non-mechanized stuff, it says in the rules that the attacker, if he eliminates the unit and there's still a retreat component, you choose the path of retreat as the attacker. All right. Well, I had to think about that one because I wasn't when I first started this, I wasn't doing that right, not the way I'm translating it. What that means is since mechanized and non-mechanized have to follow a retreating unit's retreat of path, that's the only way they can advance. And it tells me that I get to choose. That means that if I've got 5 units that attack and they're all infantry, and that unit gets eliminated, but he has a retreat of 3, I have to choose the path of retreat. And if I move those 5 infantry units, they've got to follow that path. They can't deviate. So it's allowing you to choose the path of retreat, and then you move your forces, non-mechanized or motorized, down that path of retreat. You can't have them scatter and go different directions. That's the way I'm translating that, and it makes sense. Had to think about that because it does say you must move down the path of retreat. All right? You can't deviate. But it also says that if you eliminate the unit, you choose the path of retreat. So I'm assuming you don't choose the path of retreat individually for which units are advancing. You choose one path of retreat and all your attacking components and units that were in, even if a unit's in a stack and he didn't attack, if somebody in that stack attacked and they were successful, all the units in that hex can do advance after combat. All right? So keep that in mind when you're playing this. Because it'd be too easy just to start scattering units all over the battlefield and covering every little approach. You kind of you would almost take the Russians out of the game completely right from the start. So keep that in mind. Path of retreat for motorized and non-mechanized, they all got to go down the same path. Mechanized units can scatter after the first hex, which I think works. I think that's the way it probably worked anyhow. Not one turn. I'm in the middle of the second turn. I'm getting ready to do German movement. Debating about doing some live stuff here so you see what's going on, but having a good time with this thing here. So this is Fall Blau, Compass Games. Greg Blanchett design. Greg, well done again. I'm gonna say I know I put it in the text earlier, but great job. I'm really enjoying this. I've only played 2 scenarios. Well, I'm only into my second scenario, but I love the mechanics of this game. All right, let's get this up so y'all can see what's going on and drive on Voronezh. Scenario V from Fall Blau, Compass Games. Talk to y'all soon.